All right, what's going on, everyone? It's your boy, Ernest Dove. Whew, finally back from watching not one, but two Mets minor league games. So, obviously, double the fun. I literally didn't even watch the Major League spring game. I was too busy in the backfields just to give you the lowdown on everything and anything I can come up with some analysis, some thoughts, and insight on the two minor league intra-squad games that happened in the backfields today. Let me just try to jump right into it. First and foremost, all of this and the video is sponsored by Mets News and Links. If you can find them on Twitter, Mets News and Links.blogspot.com. Everything to do with all things Mets. Shout out to Mets News and Links. And now, again, so much to talk about, even from the very beginning. It might have been the first or second pitch of one of the two games. Young Jeremy Rodriguez from the Tommy Pham trade. He ended up having a really nice game, had a nice opposite field single. Check out the videos, including that single, in my Twitter X account at Ernest Dove. Look at some of the videos, including this hit off Jonathan Santucci, which was pretty much a big deal, in my opinion. Which, by the way, Santucci overall looked absolutely fantastic. I had already been reporting earlier in spring. Santucci, even in the spring breakout game, he was touching 97, at least 97, 98 miles an hour on his fastball. In this game, all of his pitches look pretty good. The command overall looked good. I believe he throws a gyro slider. I mean, everyone's got a different name for their pitches. I think he throws the gyro, and it looked really good on one of his strikeouts. Again, check out my Twitter page. One of my highlight videos is going to be Santucci, I believe, striking somebody out on one of his pitches. He looked really good overall. Even towards the end of the game, kind of going back and forth with a lot of different players. One of the young kind of flamethrowers, don't really know where the ball's going. Seems like a work in progress. Young, hard throwing Jesus Anton, who's only 19 years old. If you look at his MILB page, close your eyes when you get to the walk section. But he throws hard. I believe he throws a splitter that looked absolutely fantastic when he had command of it. So he's an interesting teenager to keep an eye on for the 2025 season in the very low minors, which, again, you know I love the low minors as much as AAA and everything else. So maybe continue to follow my page. I want to keep an eye on Jesus Anton because he does look electric with an arm. I just want to see how the command looks and the consistency looks during the season in the low minors. One of the stars of the game, Daverson Gutierrez. I've been talking about him a little bit, or even from last year. He's one of the big signing bonus babies from the recent kind of IFA classes. The one before Elian Pena and the one before Giovanni Rodriguez. Before of them was Daverson Gutierrez, who I thought was going to be an above average glove first kind of catcher to really succeed and even make the majors as a backup. Then last year, he went crazy offensively. And now, even in spring, he looks fantastic. He smacked a double in this game. He also threw a base stealer out. He was close, I think, one or two additional times. Maybe you can blame the ump call or maybe even the glove not getting it in the right place. But every throw he had looked fantastic. His bat looks really good. Again, I know this is spring. It's an intra-squad game, but these guys are trying their hardest. Everything is being filmed from the organization. These guys are fighting for spots, and Daverson Gutierrez looked amazing to me. Uh, I also wanted to talk about, as I was going to the different fields towards the end of one game, which only went 5 innings, Daverson Gutierrez, Jonathan Santucci looked amazing. Jonathan Pintaro looked really good. He was the one opposing. It was the two Jonathans, Jonathan Pintaro, Jonathan Santucci. Pintaro looked really good in his outing, in his innings. I really didn't see a lot of hard contact from any of the hitters throughout his entire outing. So he also looked really good. On the other side of the field, you had Blade Tidwell, and then you also had Jonah Tong pitching, along with the major leaguer Paul Blackburn. Now, for me, the entire day was about Jonah Tong. Once I went over to that side of the field, it was showtime for Jonah Tong. all he seemed to do was strike everybody out. I believe I almost had a video, or I was writing about a really good double play on a ground ball he allowed. But most of the time, he was striking out at least probably 2 batters per inning for the innings that he pitched. And with different pitches, I believe he might have had maybe a changeup, definitely the 12-6 curveball, and the fastball. It looked like a high-rising fastball. Nobody was touching it. It was an amazing kind of performance. Obviously, I over-dramatize everything, but Jonah Tong looked incredible today throughout every inning that he pitched. I really didn't see a lot of loud contact from anybody. And again, most of the at-bats ended in strikeouts anyway. So he was pretty fantastic. Uh, some of the other news and notes to try to do things as part of this wrap up. And the new Dove, I try to be honest in some of the stuff that I view and analyze and check out. I don't want to just say everyone was amazing. I want to get into the stuff. I talked about Jesus Anton, some of the control issues. Even the young pitcher, we thought maybe he was Bigfoot. Some of the jokes you guys know I'm talking about on Twitter. Robert Dominguez, who looks like a grown man. He must be one of the biggest, hugest, muscle-bound-ish guys, batter or pitcher in the entire organization. Robert Dominguez sighting on the mound today. I believe he's 23 years old at this point. He signed years ago, hasn't done a lot of pitching, certain injuries here and there. But there he was on the mound. Started out not too great. He hit the first batter he faced. Soon as that guy got on, the next pitch was a wild pitch. The guy was on second. I believe he walked at least one or two other guys. It was kind of a rough situation for Robert Dominguez, who did settle down and he started to throw strikes. I think both dugouts were rooting for him, along with the coaches at a certain point, just to see him get back on track. And he did kind of settle in at the end of the inning. He did induce a ground ball. That was the final out, very soft contact grounder. So I want to keep an eye on Robert Dominguez simply because he's pitching. And I hope it, knock on wood, stays that way for the 2025 season. So I definitely pray and hope for good health for Robert Dominguez in the low minors. He's going to have to probably play in the low minors. I hope he pitches really well. Some of the other news and notes between the two games, back and forth. Drew Gilbert, as a lot of you were seeing on my Twitter page, I showed the video of him hitting a very loud sounding, what probably would have been a double that he smashed in the game, but then he didn't really run it out. So it looks like, as the Major League Mets and other writers have been reporting since the beginning of spring, they continue to take things slow with Drew Gilbert. So again, in this game, he smacked a hit that even resulted in an RBI, but I didn't really see him run the bases. But still, it's a good sign with him looking good offensively. And even during spring, I've seen him doing outfield drills. So he has been out there doing fielding and doing drills. It just looks like they really keep trying to take their time slowly with Drew Gilbert, who's going to break camp anyway in the minor leagues, obviously. So it definitely makes sense to kind of ease him into the season because he's going to start in AAA. He could be one of the next men up in the outfield. So it's important to just see him offensively anyway. We know he's really good with a glove. He's good defensively altogether, regardless, all three outfield spots. I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be a true center fielder, if that's going to be his future, but it'd be interesting to see. But again, overall, just a good outing. On another side of those things, JT Schwartz, the first base prospect who's been around for some years now, I've always seen him as a bat-to-ball guy, not a big power bat. He's one of those guys that's going to hit maybe under 15 home runs in any given season as a first baseman. I believe he's tried some corner outfield at times. And in this game, in one of the fields, JT Schwartz was being brought in as like a DH. He even bat like at random times as well. They weren't really sticking to the lineup, even specifically for JT Schwartz. But again, he was wearing basically like street clothes, a.k.a. wearing Mets shirts and gear rather than a jersey. So it looks like they're also taking things slow with JT Schwartz. I don't have any details specifically of what kind of that situation was. But again, he looks good. He looks really big. Another big, strong first baseman, which probably makes sense. So now I want to see what's going on with JT Schwartz. But again, he did kind of look good. Talked about Jonathan Pintaro. On the other field, while Jonah Tong was dominating everything, when the ball even went to the ground, whether he was pitching or even Blade Tidwell, who again, Blade Tidwell looked really good. Please, again, look at one of the videos of me recording Blade Tidwell recording a strikeout. I believe it was another high rising fastball, kind of another theme of the game, perhaps, for Tong and Blade Tidwell, keeping the fastball up in the zone, but in the strike zone, getting the calls. When the ball was on the ground, the star of the day was just Wyatt Young, Wyatt Luis Guillorme Young. He made multiple running throws for outs in this game. I believe it was even both ways, one to his right, one to his left, literally running and throwing on the run. Made the outs with a strong, accurate arm both times. So he's kind of doing what he usually does. One of the younger guys I was super excited about, or not even youngish at this point, he's getting a little older into his early 20s. I've been talking about him for at least 2 years. The lefty, Felipe De La Cruz. I liked seeing him. He looked powerful in this game. I believe he was the last pitcher on the other side that featured Blade Tidwell, Jonah Tong, Paul Blackburn. At the end of the game, you saw the lefty, Felipe De La Cruz, who I always felt, can he put it all together? Can the command be there consistently? He throws very hard. He can throw up to 95 plus as a lefty. And I love his breaking stuff when it's in the zone. And in this game, some of it looked really good, really hard on his fastball. I like some of the stuff. I believe I recorded one of his 2 strikeouts that I definitely know I saw kind of going back and forth in these games. So again, multiple strikeouts, which means more pitches in the zone. For a guy like Felipe De La Cruz, that's going to be the main thing again. How many strikes can he throw consistently, especially if they continue to view him as a starter? Now, I've been saying certain things on social media. Should he transition to the pen? I don't want to have guys be demoted of sorts from starter to reliever, but part of me continues to love the idea of this kind of lefty arm. And even if you lower some of the pitches that he throws, maybe even just make it more fastball, curveball ish, or if they're working on certain other stuff, if he can throw maybe 2 pitches max, maybe get a third one either way, but can he be a really solid reliever? It'd be something that I would like to look into and think about. So now the first thing I want to do is I haven't asked the organization yet if they still see him as a starter for this season, but he's been pitching as one. So please stay tuned to my channel. I'll try to get more information, obviously, towards the end of these camps before the minor league seasons start. I want to start seeing a trend if anybody starts transitioning from starter to reliever. Again, let me see what else I can talk about. Talked about Jonah Tong. Some of the other guys I wanted to bring up. I did this years ago, even in a spring game, when I was like, everyone look out for Michael Conforto, who went 0 for 5 in a minor league game. And I just liked the way he hit the ball in those 5 outs. My mini version of this would be the very strong and talented Nick Rosselli, the infield prospect from the recent draft. He got a cup of coffee last year with the Mets. He's back now in spring. He looked really good. I liked how hard he hit the ball, basically. So he's the hard contact guy of the day. He hit one really hard as a chopper against Santucci early on. And then I saw him drill one to like left center that got caught. But again, I like the idea of someone hitting it that hard, especially lefty on lefty. So for Nick Rosselli, the lefty, to hit the ball that hard against the hard-throwing Santucci, who was also throwing some really good breaking stuff. And I believe in both counts, actually, in both of Nick Rosselli at-bats, he had 2 strikes when he made this loud contact. So that's something, too, that I think is a positive, even in outs, which I'm going to be the positive about everything, but I see that as a good sign. Again, talked about Blade Tidwell. More information in the post-game interview. When I ran back to the major league fields at Clover Park, showed up for the post-game, Carlos Mendoza talked about Paul Blackburn, who, if you could see my videos, I videoed one of his strikeouts in the backfields. Mendoza reported that he went a full 5 innings. He broke 80-ish pitches, so he was over 80 pitches. He looked really good overall in the outing. But again, obviously, Intrasquad, I would think it makes sense that both of these games were pitcher dominated. They were basically pitchers' duels on both sides. and it probably makes sense. They always say pitchers can be ahead of the hitters in camps, but at the same time, too, there were a lot of low minors guys in these games. I was excited to see Trey Schneider in this game. He's a younger high school draft pick. He didn't really have any big hits that I saw, but again, these are some of the younger guys. Jacob Reimer was in the game in today. But again, when you have guys like Santucci, Jonathan Pintaro, who's like experienced, ready for AAA action and possibly the majors in 2025, when you have a first round pick, when you have a top 30 prospect with AAA experience pitching against guys who are 18, 19, 20 years old, it's going to be kind of rough for the hitters, I'm sure, except for Daverson Gutierrez. If he's going to be the guy right now, when you see my Twitter X account, all I'm going to be doing now is talking about Daverson Gutierrez. You're probably going to hate it or love it, as I mentioned him way too much. But for him to do what he did at his age, facing pitchers like Santucci, it's going to be pretty interesting with a Pintaro. There's so many strong pitchers that happened today, but a young hitter like this, I'm excited. Now, they didn't participate in the games, but to kind of gear towards the end of this video, I want to talk about a couple of left-handed pitching prospects that are behind the scenes. One threw a pen session today, one threw a pen session yesterday. They're both have an increase in their velocity this year. And I want to talk about the first one is Eli Ankney. He's a lefty reliever who missed all of last year with Tommy John. Here he is now. I even spoke with him for a little bit in the backfields. He actually hit, as far as I know, it might be the hardest that he's throwing this spring that he's thrown as a professional. So post-draft, even in the 2023 minor league season, I think he was a 91 to 93-ish pitcher, fastball velocity in the games. And here he is in spring now, recently topping 94. And he's someone that has some new stuff that he's working on. I believe he's the one that now has a hard slider, the sweeper from the hard. I think some of the terms are changing. The types of pitches are changing. Now he throws a hard slider. Again, the fastball is now topping up to 94, which again, for him as a lefty, is very strong. It's got to be some of the hardest he's thrown even since college or even before. It's going to be really exciting to see an arm like this because he could possibly be a fast riser in the system as a pen arm, as a college arm. These kind of guys can move fast. And now that he's healthy, I want to see where he starts, but then I want to see where he ends. He's the kind of arm you want to see at least in AA by the end of the year because he has the talent for it. And then, by the way, shout out Grand Canyon University because the other lefty I'm going to talk about from the same college is Zach Thornton. I've mentioned him before recently. I want to bring it up again. Zach Thornton has been eating a lot of pitches, including today in the backfields. He has now an arsenal of up to 5 pitches that he throws, including the kick change. Here's what that new term. I guess shout out to Clay Holmes, and now even minor leaguers are throwing the kick change. We got the kick change for Zach Thornton. We have the Vulcan change for Jonah Tong. But back to Zach, I'm excited because it does look like they are preparing him to be a starter as well. Again, like a Felipe De La Cruz, I'm like, should he move to the pen? But when it comes to a lefty like Zach Thornton, it looks like all systems would go for him to keep being kind of preparing for a starting pitcher role for this minor league season because he's up to 5 assortment of pitches that he throws. So again, that's some of the stuff. It was an amazing experience being in the backfields. I was super excited to kind of bounce back and forth. It was hot. I think I have some sunburn. It kind of is what it is. It was a pleasure being even to make this video. Again, shout out to Mets News and Links for my media credentials on behalf of that site. So if you guys can check out the site. Also, other guys and shout outs to give. Shout out to maxmets.blogspot.com. And very huge shout out to all the guys at sportswireradio.org. That's SPORTZ, wireradio.org. Shout out to all the sites, all the publications. Continue to please support my YouTube channel if you can. Please, please, please subscribe. I want to continue to make more videos. I want to continue to have maybe some more interviews. I've been talking to a couple of players here and there. I'm hoping not even just to interview them. I may even have like a co-host with one of the other players. I want to see if some of those cool things can work out. I hope it's something that you guys can enjoy in the near future. And again, shout out to all the Mets minor leaguers. You know, I love all you guys. I'm ready to hug all of you. I even got to see and shake some hands today because, again, I'm still a fanboy, and as well as being a journalist, sue me. I'm more of a do what I want kind of guy. I'm a freelance journalist, so I can do that. Again, that's it for me for now. I'll see you guys next time.